On October 5th, 2018, Ubisoft released Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the 11th game in the series following Origins. Unlike the original 9, Odyssey focused much more on combat over stealth, choices over linear storytelling, and mythology over history. While it was highly controversial whether this was a good direction for the series, one must admit that Odyssey impressed countless new and old fans alike. Maybe it was the world building, the graphics, or even the topic of today's video, the Cult of Kosmos. Spoilers ahead. In Odyssey, you play as the eagle-bearing mercenary Kassandra. Abandoned in Sparta and found in Kefalonia, she's lived a hard life so far. Until one strange day, a man named Elpenor arrives to hire her to kill a Spartan general, her father. This is how you first find out about the cult and their motives to destroy your family. Immediately after this encounter, you see the full scope of your new problem. Together in a meeting are dozens of robed and masked figures, kings, killers, and worst of all, leading them is your brother, Alexios, or as the cult now calls him, Demos. Although you only need to kill around 10 out of the 44 members to complete the main story, the game encourages you to defeat them all. Odyssey does this by placing cult members all around the Greek world, so whether you're on a side quest, participating in battles, or just running around doing jack all, you'll likely run into a few cultists. With the cult everywhere, it got me thinking, how early can you kill each one? So who's first? Elpenor, right? He's the first one you meet that introduces you to the cult after all. Well, it isn't him. The correct answer is Ezekias the Legend. Let me explain. Right after getting a horse, you're told that you have a bounty on your head. Just like Instagram, now you have the mercenary menu to look at and see who out there is better than you. Who's most better than you? Ezekias is. Not only is he the tier 1 mercenary, but he's also the boss of the heroes of the cult branch. Just to clarify, I'm playing on New Game Plus, so never say I told you to grind mercenaries for hours to get to Ezekias. And yes, that is exactly what I did. Cue the mercenary murder montage. By raising my bounty and slaying mercenary after mercenary, I knew it was only a matter of time before the legend himself came after me. And at last, he did. I put down his bear, dropped in to say hello, and unleashed the full fury of the bloodline that he tried so desperately to snuff. So with that, we've eliminated our first cultist. Not only have we done this before Elpenor, but we haven't even fulfilled his contract in Megaris. Normally, Megaris is where you complete your first conquest battle as the way to confront your father afterward. This time, I'm in Achaea, and the game says that I can join Athens in this conquest battle against Sparta. Remember how I said some battles contain cultists? Guess what? Our next hero of the cult, Pallas the Silencer, is in for an early game surprise. Now that we're 2 members in, I should probably provide context for what's to come. Most cult members spawn in specific places around Greece, but with Elpenor alive, they're nowhere to be seen. The few I can get before Elpenor are rare cases where the game has no other choice but to give you the character. Ezekias and Pallas are 2 of those cases where mercenary status and conquest battle design nullify the need to kill Elpenor. This means our next stop is the arena where we face Belos, the Beast of Sparta. The game can't stop me from fighting in the arena at this point, and Belos can't stop me either, as you can clearly see. Next in line is Sokos. Sokos is accessible solely through the Obsidian Island's naval battle, which I'll show you how that went. A for effort, Sokos. A for effort. This finishes our pre-Elpenor murder spree, with a grand total of 4 cult members slain. Now it's time to play the game as it was intended! Yay! To officially begin the game's second episode, one must sink ships, meet Stentor, and kill the Athenian leader. Then you fight for Sparta, as I mentioned earlier, and now you can meet with your father. To sum it up for those unfamiliar, cult drops brother, daughter kills Spartan elder, father drops daughter, mother leaves Sparta, cult takes brother, and daughter cells to Kefalonia. I chose to spare Nikolaus, and he told me that Marini is alive, warned me about snakes in the grass, and left to go find his honor. Him living won't change the outcome of the contract, since I can take the Wolf's Helm to Elpenor either way. Elpenor then revealed that he had wanted to recruit me to the cult and slithered away. I went to Snake Temple in the Valley of the Snake to take out my frustration on some enemies when unexpectedly, I found him. No clue why the snake was at Snake Temple in the Valley of the Snake, but regardless, our 5th cultist was down. Leaving Snake Temple, I then went undercover at the cult's headquarters to gain some insight. In there I learned what I already knew about them hunting the bloodline, but near the end, Demo stormed in with Elpenor's head. A little upsetty spaghetti, he began to test everyone with the artifact known as the Dorito Pyramid. Upon discovering that Kassandra prefers Lays, he chose to spare her by killing Epictetus for us. Thanks, Demos. Once out of the cave, you now have the cult menu unlocked. This also means 23 cult members are now available. After I learned every cult member's location, I made a list that would allow me to circle Greece. Keep in mind that these are only the members that you can find freely out in the world once you have the cult menu. I will show you how to find these ones on the map as we go along. Starting off, we move north to Malice, where we defeat Zoisme in a bear cave. In Boeotia, we face Dioneir, who is technically part of the story but can be dealt with now. Make sure to loot her clue from Boeotia's leader because she doesn't stay in one place. Speaking of leaders, Skylax the Fair, leader of Abia, is next. Logically, it would make sense for leader cult members to be available earlier, but sadly that isn't the case. After Skylax, it's the Centaur of Abia and the mine up north. You'll be disappointed to know that instead of a centaur, you must fight a featherless biped instead. Leader of Limnos, Iobates, is next. He didn't put up much of a fight. The final leader for now, Kodros the Bull in Lesbos, also wasn't much of a fighter. Coming up next is Iokasti and this cult base on the island of Chios. Pretty simple, you storm the castle, climb the hill, and dethrone the queen. The first ship captain on this list, Asteron, sails below Skiros. Luckily for me, he secluded himself far away from his fleet, so I was able to board his ship in no time. An even easier cultist to defeat was the Chimera on Andros. Seriously, she requires 0 effort. Next up is Harpalos, a follower of Ares in the Pirate Islands. And on this small island in the Silver Islands, you'll find the Silver Griffin. In the ocean again, under Samos, is the Mytilenean Shark. Or I guess was the Mytilenean Shark, my bad. Having just slain the shark, I thought it would be best to tackle the octopus next. I guess that pirate can't swim. Next one, in Masara, Meliti is in this little house in Little Egypt. Apparently only at night though, I guess he had errands to run. Melantho sails west of Little Egypt and is the worst captain I've ever seen, and that is saying quite a lot. With every sea captain cultist sinking to Atlantis, we may uncover their boss, the Hydra. Now in the bottom left corner of the map, I broke his ship with one small tap. Moving on, we find Midas in Argos. Don't ask me where he was running, because I don't think he knew either. Within this here fort, you'll find Polmon the Wise, but I decided to rename him to Polmon the Dies. Machaon the Feared can be found cowering in the shipyard. Sotira is at the port. I noticed that she sucked at running, so I encouraged her to try to swim. She sucked at that too. Straight across the water, Brisson can be found at the quarry. In Athens, around this building, lurks a spy for the cult. I wonder who it could be. Oh wait, never mind, I think I know. Finally, we may face our final free roam cultist, Okitos the Great at the bottom tip of Attica. And just like the rest of them, he wasn't much trouble either. Now that we've taken out 29 members, we can shift focus towards the final 15, 5 of which are within side quest lines and 10 are a part of the main story. Only 2 side quest cult members can be defeated right after the cult menu is unlocked. The first is Swordfish and Masara, and although the game will allow you to face Medusa before episode 2, Myths and Minotaurs is only here now. This quest asks you to save a boy's father from the Minotaur's labyrinth, but fortunately for us, we're here for someone far less formidable. He gives us a clue as to where Swordfish is, and by finding him in this cave guarded by sharks, you can tell that he doesn't much care for beast slaying.
I won't go back!
Once he's down, we can move to Kythera, where we meet this lovely lady named Dione. In her quest, Dione, she asks for you to sleep with her several times.
I always bite.
Whether you show her the fury of the bloodline or not, and no, I don't mean like we did with Exekius, you'll find that she's been planning to kill her twin sister, the High Priestess. Usually picking between twin sisters isn't as dire, but this time, if you go for the one on the right, you'll have eliminated your 31st cultist. The final 3 side quest cult members will not appear until you finish episode 4. This episode ends with you gaining clues on where to find your mother Marini. Alcibiades tells you to meet Anthusa in Corinth. Aeropedes says to seek a physician in Argos, and Aspasia, a woman of great influence in Athens, informs you about the pirate queen Xenia. During the same quest, you can speak with our next cultist, Hermippos. Hermippos expresses his hate for Athens leader Pericles. He then praises Pericles' political rival Cleon for being better at golf. After the party, I searched where Hermippos spawns at the Temple of Hephaestus, but I didn't find him until I completed 2 side quests for Alcibiades. I could kill him now, but for the sake of consistency, here's his side quest, Free Speech. Free Speech has you search his house for clues to where he could be. In doing so, you confirm his affiliation with the Cult of Kosmos and can now mark him on the map. After giving him a poison arrow piercing, he was ready for his first day at the hot topic in the underworld. Now with Free Speech done, we do one more quest for Socrates before unlocking another quest to Life's Worth. Here you see a slave get his freedom denied by his master. To help the slave, you go up the hill to meet the master. Wait a second, did I read that right? The master. Why did they name him the master? The master gives you 2 options. You can either kill an innocent woman, or the slave stays. I presented him with a 3rd option, burning him to death slowly.
My bad, homie. I picked C. Ain't that a bitch?
Once my master mignon was cooked, and my hunger for human flesh was satiated, it was time for the final side quest cultist. Ketve the Cruel, Podarkes the Cruel, is the Athenian leader of the Silver Islands. Traveling there will begin the Rebellion quest line, a tale full of heartache, love, and drama. We're not here for any of that. We only care about the quest, Hades, meet Podarkes. This side quest becomes available after either meeting Kira in the cave or Theletus at the camp. When you've done so, charge the leader house on Mykonos and try not to kick him into the ocean like I did. The cutscene plays as normal, but Podarkes the corpse is rejected by the Earth's gravitational pull. With every side quest cult member defeated, I may now progress in the main story. Following the clues given at the end of episode 4, we can begin episode 5 in Argos. Here it becomes incredibly obvious that the local priestess, Chrysis, is the cultist. Chrysis reveals that she took Alexios shortly after what happened in Sparta. She renamed him to Demos and taught him to love Doritos. Chrysis then tries to escape by tricking me into saving some stupid baby. If I save the baby, she'll become a side quest cultist. Zeus knows that I'm not about to rewrite this script, so I crippled that old woman in the forest with 1 arrow. Also, there goes my sponsorship with Lays. From Argos, we head up to Corinth, where we meet Anthusa, queen of prostitution. She tells me that she has a nasty problem that could kill her. I tell her that I'm not a gynecologist and that I'm sorry I can't help. She says no, the moniker is running loose in our streets. I told her that was a dumb name for a disease and that Corinth could benefit from more condoms. I met Brasidas and wrote him into my script because he's relevant later. I then faced the moniker in the cave because that is also relevant later. Now that Corinth was safe from at least 1 disease, I met Xenia as Aspasia told me to do, and now I could return to Athens. My triumphant mood from defeating 2 story cult members was killed by devastating news. Athens has been hit by 1% of the diseases found in Corinth, and was hanging by a thread that the Cult of Kosmos gladly cut when they killed Pericles. Fleeing Athens with Aspasia, she pieces together what you learned about Marini in episode 5. She tells you to search the island Naxos. There, Kassandra and Marini reunite. The reunion is interrupted, however, when Athenian invaders from Paros attack Naxos. Kassandra, Marini, and Aspasia discover that one of the 2 Spartan kings hired a cultist to lead Paros. This cultist, Silanos, prepares a fleet to kill Marini. After I did some math and divided his ship by 2, it was safe to set sail to Sparta. In Sparta we meet the 2 kings. Archidamos, a traditionalist, strictly adherent to Spartan law, and Pausanias, the more progressive of the 2. They each give you a task to earn back your old home. Win a war in Boeotia, and win the Olympic Games. Easy stuff.
Spoken with the confidence of a child who hasn't seen real war.
In Boeotia, you meet with Stentor from before. He's delighted to see you and grateful for your help. After the battle for Boeotia, Stentor expresses his gratitude again before he wishes you the best of luck on your travels. For the Olympics, we oil up our testicles. Sadly, our testicles slipped out of our grasp and into the mouth of a shark. No worries, because 428 BCE Greece decided to let a woman compete that day in the games. I suppose we didn't need testicles after all. Halfway through the event, Alcibiades is poisoned by Olympic judge and cult member Callias. The Olympic truce prevented me from shooting him with arrows. However, it was socially acceptable for me to shoot rock-tipped arrows instead and pacify an entire crowd. With Callias dead and the funniest cutscene scene, we may leave Olympia and venture into Arcadia. Although it isn't known that we're here, we can gain a clue as to which king hired Solanos to kill Marini. So long as you killed the Monger in the cave and side with Brasidas throughout this quest, you may get that clue from Lagos. Lagos, a member of the Cult of Kosmos, sees your good deeds and agrees to leave the cult. Before that, he gives you enough evidence to accuse the cultist king Pausanias.
We were told serious charges will be brought.
Serious charges? Against whom?
Here's all the proof you need.
Proof? What proof?
We never would have thought a king could be so dishonorable. Pausanias, you are king no more.
Once he was exiled, I stealthily took down his hoplites before making his body perfect for a game of whack-a-mole. Only 4 members are left when episode 8 begins with the Battle of Pylos. You fight through fire and fury until Deimos, Dorito demigod, makes his entrance. Back again to argue which chip brand is better. His experience in eating sweet spicy chili couldn't save him from plot progressor Tree of Fire number 1. Kassandra tried to save him, but Flamin' Hot Blaze was no match for plot progressor Tree of Fire number 2. Those plot progressor trees sent us straight to prison in Athens. Deimos uses this opportunity to ask why we prefer Lay's. You need to tell him that Lay's has a wider range of subtle flavors. Then you say that Lay's has a thin, crispy texture that Doritos simply can't offer. Finally, you argue that Lay's better complements dips and appetizers. You'll know you've done it correctly when Deimos declines Cleon's offer of Doritos barbecue. Cleon, new ruler of Athens, is a cultist? Who could have guessed? The cast you may know and may or may not love comes together to discredit Cleon. After getting an actor for a play, a cultist becomes available in weapon storage. I do realize I've been brutalizing these guys and gals as I went through the game, so I gave Commander Rexenor a fair fight. After canceling Cleon with ancient Greece's version of Twitter, he went to fight for Athens and Macedonia. Let's just say that he and his lungs regretted it. With almost every cultist killed, we could confront their true leader, the Ghost of Kosmos. Delving back into the cult headquarters, Aspasia reveals that, apart from the DLCs, she is the only part of the game relevant to Assassin's Creed lore. She says that the cult wasn't what it used to be. The cult preferred combat over stealth, choices over linear storytelling, and mythology over history. They moved away from classic games and were playing RPGs. Aspasia saw this and helped you destroy them. She then declared that she would found the Templar Order, and set the stage for Assassin's Creed classics like Black Flag. I played Black Flag when I was 9, so I let her go. Not before cleaning the Dorito dust off her lips, of course. Before we deal with the final cultist, I want to say thank you for watching the video. Any like, view, or sub really helps me a lot, and I appreciate all of them. I hope you've enjoyed this journey, or odyssey in this case, of defeating every cultist as soon as possible. I know I've only played Black Flag, so I can't really join in on the discussion on whether Odyssey fits into Assassin's Creed, but I can say that Odyssey is worth a try. This game has so much in it that there's bound to be something in there you'll enjoy. So with that said, I chose to end this video with Deimos. Everything in the story has built up to this final moment. We've seen the early, the many, the few, and the main, but it all comes down to him. Feel free to drop a comment. I've been your host, Aztec Ninja, and please enjoy the end of the video. Look to the stars, beyond the mountains and the wild sea. Follow your dreams, the bravest hearts. The gods will favor those who dare to see courageously their destiny. Beautiful island, bathed in the rising sun. Faith's hand will guide you, traveling paths alone, back to the warmth of home. Through storms will rise, and battles fought under a raging sky. Through watchful eyes, fearless we breathe, with silent whispers through the ancient trees. Where legends grow, we live in hope. Beautiful island, bathed in the rising sun. Faith's hand will guide you, traveling paths alone, back to the warmth of home.